annual Distinguished Alumni Gallery of Success. The Gallery of Success is a student-run program that honors past graduates from the Amherst school system. The definition of success is just as diverse as the many talents and achievements of today's inductees. It's now my pleasure to introduce Derek Pitak, who will recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Will you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
It's now my pleasure to introduce to you Tracy Lockman, Senior Class Secretary.
On behalf of the administration, faculty, staff, and students of Amherst Schools, I welcome you to the 12th Gallery of Success induction. At this time, I want to acknowledge some of our honored guests. Mrs. Sandy Friedman, member of the Amherst Board of Education. Mr. Howard Dolmage, Superintendent of Amherst Schools. Mr. Tim Logar, Assistant Superintendent of Amherst Schools. Mr. Bob Wiersum, Administrative Assistant. Dr. Joe Holscher, School Psychologist. Mr. David Angelani, Principal of Power School. Mr. Daniel Trent, Principal of Harris School. Mr. Steve Demko, Principal of Shoup School. Mr. William Marley, Principal of North Junior High. Mr. Jeff Risen, Assistant Principal of Steele High School. Mr. Richard Brock, Associate Principal of Steele High School. And Mr. Robert Boynton, Principal of Steele High School. At this time, would all past inductees of the Gallery of Success please stand and be recognized? Thank you. Now, would all current student council members please stand and be recognized for your efforts in making today's events possible? On behalf of everyone here today, I want to congratulate our 1997 inductees and wish you many more years of success.
my pleasure to welcome you to the 12th Annual Alumni Gallery of Success. 12 years ago when we started this program, I can remember we were very concerned. We didn't know if anyone would attend or care enough to come back. And the fact of the matter is over the past 12 years, this event has become very important to our school and our community. And it has actually become probably the second biggest event for the school system. The number one event, of course, always is graduation at the end of the year. So I thank you for being here. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank some people who are responsible for making this program go off. First of all, the student council. As it was mentioned earlier, this program is run by the students. The students plan the activity, they receive the nominations, and then they make the decisions on who will be inducted. So this is a student activity, and the student council does an outstanding job. Their president this year is Doug Northheim, and I congratulate student council for everything that they've done with this program. I'd also like to thank their advisor, Mr. Richard Roth. This is his first year as a student council advisor, and he's following Mrs. Von Gutten, who retired last year. She's here in the audience. I'd like to thank her for everything she has done with this program, and also thank Mr. Roth for stepping in and doing an outstanding job of organizing today's program. I'd like to thank the choir and Mr. Scalatin. Today was their first performance under their new director, and I want to take my hat off to you and thank you for doing an outstanding job. You sounded great. I'd also like to thank the Steele High School PTO, their president, Mrs. Sue Cotton. The PTO purchases the flowers that our guests and the student council members are wearing today. They also help organize the luncheon that will take place after in the media center. So special thanks to the PTO. And last but not least, I'd like to thank Mrs. DePaula and Maureen Schieferstein. Pat DePaula is my secretary, and she has helped Mr. Roth organize this activity, along with Mrs. Schieferstein, who works in the media center. So thank you to those folks. Finally, to our honored guests, I want to thank you for coming today, and I want you to know that we have two goals every year that we try to accomplish with this program. Our first goal is to recognize people, you and people like you, who have gone on after graduating from the Amherst schools and have made a difference in the world. And we want to recognize that achievement. Our second goal is to use you as a role model for the students that we are presently teaching. We have approximately 150 students from Steele High School here today in the audience. We are also videotaping this program, and it will be aired on our cable channel. And what we hope is that you will be a model for those kids that they can look to and understand that they can graduate from Steele High School and place no limits on themselves of what they can achieve, that they can go out and they can make a difference in this world also. That we know you will, we're asking you to pass along that information to the students today. We know you'll be successful in doing that. This school system has a tremendous amount of pride, and there's a tremendous tradition here. And you are part of that pride, and you are part of that tradition. And we thank you for being here, and may God bless you.
Our first inductee this morning will be Mr. James H. Herman, inducted by Megan Huber.
class of 1935 was honored to have Mr. James Herman as a member of their class. He participated in athletics, music, and other activities. He was captain of the basketball team that placed third in the state championship playoffs. He graduated from high school as salutatorian. After high school, he attended and graduated from Bluffton College in 1939. He began his career in education as a math teacher in Amherst. 2 years later, he placed his teaching career on hold to serve in World War II from 1941 to 1944. He enlisted in the U.S. Army Air Force and served as a weather forecaster in the China-Burma-India Theater. After the war, he earned his master's degree from Kent State University. He continued teaching and later became a school administrator in Lorain County, Fireland School District, Bluffton, and Allen County. While he was superintendent of the Henrietta schools, he was given the task of organizing and consolidating the schools of Brownhelm, Florence, Camden, and Henrietta townships. He served as their superintendent for 12 years, when he resigned, and then became superintendent of the Bluffton School District for 4 years. In 1980, he joined the Allen County Board of Education as treasurer. Mr. Herman was associated with Bluffton College for over 50 years. He served as director of alumni affairs and director of the development department. He also taught at Bluffton College for several years and was the director of athletics from 1978 to 1980. It was when the college was computerized that it was discovered Mr. Herman had never drawn a salary. After it was brought to their attention, he became a $1 a year employee. In addition to his active school life, he had 3 sons and 7 grandchildren. He was also the secretary of the Lions Club and was very active with his church. In 1989, he was inducted into the Bluffton Athletic Hall of Fame and received the Distinguished Alumni Award from Bluffton College. Sadly, Mr. James Herman died, a victim of Parkinson's disease, on December 2, 1994. Accepting this award for him is Mrs. Phyllis Moser. In 1940, she was a music teacher at Amherst. This is where she met, then married Mr. James Herman, a wonderful and talented man.
I want to thank you for honoring Jim in this way. He served his school, college, community, and church unselfishly. Thank you for recognizing Jim's life of servanthood.
Our second inductee this morning is Mr. Daniel Mahuda, class of 1941, inducted by Brooke Barnes.
Today, I have the great honor of welcoming Mr. Dan Mahuda into the Amherst High School Gallery of Success. He's a very distinguished graduate of Amherst who has certainly earned the right to be included in this elite group. Mr. Mahuda is also a distinguished graduate of Baldwin Wallace with his bachelor's degree and Kent State with his master's degree. Mr. Mahuda was an art teacher for 31 years in the Parma City School District. However, Mr. Mahuda has broadened his horizons and now teaches art to children all over the world. He has made 3 instructional art videos that teach children how to draw, paint, and enjoy themselves in the process. But Mr. Mahuda is more than an art teacher. He is also an involved member of his community. He is a 32-year member of the Kiwanis Club. As well, he sings in 2 barbershop quartets. Mr. Mahuda had a very successful teaching career in which he was recognized many times with awards. In 1993, Mr. Mahuda was named Art Teacher of the Year in Ohio. He was also honored as Artist of the Year in 1976 by the Parma Area Fine Arts Council. In addition to being honored here today by his high school alma mater, Mr. Mahuda was also honored by Baldwin Wallace with their Merit Alumni Award. According to Mr. Mahuda, the students made all the hard work of teaching worthwhile. His favorite part of teaching was his love of the students and the appreciation that they showed him. Mr. Mahuda always encouraged his students to try new things and follow their ideas, and his students were grateful for that. Mr. Mahuda is the type of person that seems to have been a natural teacher. His students always showed through. His talents always showed through, and his teachers saw it while he himself was a student. Several times in his education, his teachers told him that he should become an art teacher because he was always helping his classmates and showing them how to do projects. Although Mr. Mahuta did not think he would become a teacher then, it was meant to be, and life has shown him that. As well as being an involved adult, Mr. Mahuta was also an involved student. While in high school, he was a member of the choir and the Boosters Club. He was also a member of the High White Club that was at one time affiliated with the YMCA. Mr. Mahuta was also a leader of his class and was senior class vice president. These activities helped to give Mr. Mahuta a very enjoyable high school experience that he looks back on fondly. Among his fondest memories of high school are his classmates that he had many fun times with and loved dearly. However, his fondest memories of the namesake of our high school, Miss Marion Steele. At the time of Mr. Mahuta's education, she was the principal of Central High School. She was an inspiration to him that helped him through some rough times in his life. Miss Steele would always listen to him and help him through his troubles. She helped him deal with his mother's illness and made the illness a little easier to get through. Mr. Mahuta refers to Miss Steele as an inspiration to him as well as to many other people. During his teaching career, Mr. Mahuta began to get involved with television productions that taught students about different subjects. At first, these programs did not include art, but slowly they included more diverse subjects, and Mr. Mahuta's art feature became a well-liked program. This experience while teaching led Mr. Mahuta to get involved in the educational videos after his retirement. His video series called The Art Chest and The Art Maker is now a very popular series that's shown all over the world. The videos are distributed to Canada, Mexico, Hong Kong, Indonesia, and South Africa, in addition to the United States. Mr. Mahuta gives workshops to many colleges, to the handicapped, and to Indian reservations about his videos and his teaching techniques. The videos have helped to teach many children art when there are no knowledgeable teachers in their area and they would not normally get any art instruction. Mr. Mahuta has now started his own video company called Devara Incorporated. They are making family home videos that teach crafts as well as art. The effect that these videos have made upon the lives of young beginning artists is immeasurable. In his free time, Mr. Mahuta enjoys singing in 2 barbershop quartets. One of his quartets, A Great Bunch of Guys, is good enough to have sung at the international level. In addition to singing, Mr. Mahuta also enjoys painting and photography. In talking with Mr. Mahuta, I learned that he is a very humble man who takes pride in his accomplishments, but does not push them onto his listeners. When I asked him if he ever expected to be a member of the Gallery of Success, he said that he had thought about it once or twice when someone else had mentioned it to him. He said that his feeling was, if it was meant to be, it would happen, and if it wasn't meant to be, it wouldn't happen, and it wasn't worth worrying about. Maybe we should all take some of Mr. Mahuta's advice and enjoy life as it transpires, and not be so worried about what is going to happen in the future. If something is meant to be, then it will happen with a little hard work. With that, I would like to introduce to you Mr. Dan Mahuta as the newest inductee to the Amherst High School Gallery of Success.
Thank you very much. I can see I was on the stage many times before singing the barbershop quartet, and I couldn't get up from that chair without making a little show. I'm so proud of this award, the people who nominated me and the student council who chose me for this. And as mentioned in the comments, my love for Marion Steele. I was a child who was never a good reader. You know, they label people as being bluebirds and blackbirds and things like this in the elementary school as you're moving along. I was always in the blackbird group. And when I was in the 5th grade, I was reading down on the 3rd grade level, never knowing at that moment what the problem was. Regardless, I went on through school. So I found that my world for learning would not have to be through reading as much, but through the visual, through listening and looking, which I did most of my life. I found in the elementary school, then in about 4th grade, one of the teachers had saved one of the chalkboards at the end of the room for me to do my drawing each week, and so that I would have it all year long. And then the students would come around me and I'd instruct them how to do it. So it was a kind of a case where all of a sudden I was an art teacher at a very early age, and Mr. Parks, who was the traveling art teacher, said, you're going to be an art teacher. But like all students along the way who have been told what they're going to be, I tried to be everything else in the world. As I went through the Army and came on back, I got into psychology, got into various things. And one day someone says, aren't you the person who's supposed to be the art teacher? And I said, yes. He said, well then follow your goal there. And that I have done over the years, and I absolutely love it. I want to say to the youngsters out there who are trying to decide where you're going to go, I visited your school this morning and I found so much for you to learn, so much that's new. Half of you probably by the time you graduate, well, your jobs haven't even been created yet, looking at that lab that I saw at the school with the TVs. So learn as much as you can about everything. My wife has a little way she handles it. She says, mark everything down on one side of the paper that you like and that you like to do. Mark on the other side things you don't like and things you don't like to do. Don't look at that side too often. And then somewhere along the line, look at your own personal talent as you look at this list. You have been given certain kinds of talents that you can make your living and be very, very happy within your own occupation that way. If you need to go further, look for the need in the world. There's lots of need in this world, and train yourself toward that, because somewhere along the line the world needs you that way. Hey, I'm awfully glad to have this. Thank you so very, very much.
It's my pleasure to introduce you to Liz Geary, who will be inducting Mr. Gerald Pretty, class of 1949.
It is an honor for me to present the induction speech for Mr. Gerald Pretty. When I first contacted Mr. Pretty to prepare for this speech, I was a little nervous, kind of like right now. I carefully scripted what I was going to say, and I practiced word for word with my mom. And after 2 weeks of putting it off, I finally made that phone call. When he answered the phone, he said, "Mr. Pretty." Unfortunately, my script had called for me to say, "Is Mr. Pretty there?" He then said, "Yeah, I'm still here." Needless to say, the conversation did not follow my script. When I hung up the phone after that first conversation, I realized I had learned absolutely nothing about Mr. Pretty. He had managed to turn the whole conversation around to me and to my life. He showed me how well he can relate to people and what a good salesman he was. This was just one part of Mr. Gerald Pretty's very successful life. Mr. Pretty was basically the all-American boy in high school. He was an honor student, a member of the student council, and an outstanding athlete. He led the Cleveland Southwest Conference in scoring in 3 different sports: football, basketball, and track. He was captain of the football and basketball team and is currently the 4th leading career scorer in Amherst basketball history. In track, he was the Ohio High School discus champion and shot put runner-up in 1949. After he conquered everything in high school, he moved on to Ohio Wesleyan. While there, he continued to excel in track and football. He set new school and conference records in track while he led his football team to the Ohio Conference Championship. He was elected captain both in his junior and senior years. Mr. Pretty is considered to be one of Ohio Wesleyan's greatest linebackers ever. Mr. Pretty not only excelled on the playing fields, but also in the classroom and campus community. He graduated with honors in business administration and economics and received numerous awards for his leadership in the school. After college, he served for 2 years as an officer in the United States Air Force during the Korean War. In 1955, after the war, Mr. Pretty started what turned out to be a highly successful business career. He was chosen by the Aetna Life Insurance Company for its prestigious training program, and he quickly worked his way up, managing and operating many divisions, including Toledo, Mansfield, and the entire state of Kentucky. He earned many awards while working for Aetna, including the Mansfield Ashland Life Award. He became a CLU Chartered Life Underwriter and served as president of the association. Mr. Pretty not only worked hard for his business, but also for his community. He was chairman for the United Appeal, a finance chairman for the Central Methodist Church, and a member of the board of directors of the Central Methodist Church. As you can see, Mr. Pretty has had many successes in the workplace and community, but none of them are as important to him as his success in the home. He and his Helen, his wife of many years, have 2 children, John and Joan, both of whom have graduated from very prestigious colleges. Mr. Pretty says family should be number 1 in life. The demands in the workplace and community will always be increasing, but he advises to balance everything in life and do the most important.
I think this philosophy is what really makes Mr. Joe Pretty so successful. It is now my pleasure to induct Mr. Pretty of the class of 1949 into the Distinguished Alumni Gallery of Success.
Thank you very much, Liz, for that very nice introduction. At times, while you were talking, I wasn't sure who you were talking about. But anyway, it was very nice, and I appreciate it. I am extremely honored to be here for this occasion. Our family moved to Amherst in 1940. I was in the 4th grade. And after graduation in 1945, I have, but in very few instances, had occasion to be back in Amherst. When I received the invitation from Mr. Roth, it immediately sent me back in time, a wonderful time in my life. My father, who incidentally did not graduate from high school, had for 20 years been with the F.W. Woolworth Company, starting as a stock boy and working his way up to manager of the largest 5 and 10 cent store, F.W. Woolworth, in downtown Cleveland. As times changed and management changed, he was found that his lack of knowledge caused him to be moved to a smaller store in Akron, Ohio. It did not take him long to realize that his future with this company was certainly limited. With his experience and great knowledge of the business, he proceeded to go to an independent franchise of Ben Franklin store in Amherst. He always had a vision that one of his 3 sons would be interested in the business and that other Ben Franklin stores might be open possibly in Vermilion or Huron. But this was not the case. My 2 older brothers, after World War II, went to college. One proceeded in a career in engineering and the other one in radio and television. I went to college and followed a corporate business career. One follow-up lesson to the F.W. Woolworth Company and Ben Franklin stores, from the standpoint that nothing stays the same and you must be ready to change when necessary. Probably only your parents might remember what the Ben Franklin store was like, or even your grandparents, in the 1940s, the 1950s, and the 1960s, before it became a craft store. And only recently, after 117 years in the business, the F.W. Woolworth Company announced that they were closing the last of their 400 stores. I remember Amherst and Amherst schools in the single building on Church Street with all 12 grades. It was a fantastic experience. F.R. Powers was superintendent, Marion Steele was principal, and not that I was a bad boy, I don't think. I thought I was quite normal, but I do remember being invited to the boiler room in that school by Mr. Powers when I was in junior high to participate in the discipline of the paddle. And obviously after this number of years, it was quite impressive. I also remember very well our 8th grade math teacher, Mrs. Epley. She basically put the fear of God into you when she taught her favorite subject. I greatly appreciate that now because that particular math became a very important part of my work. Since also in growing up, food was most essential in the back of my mind, I remember the very large milkshakes at Bet's Dairy for 15 cents. I probably got one almost every day. And most of the money I earned seemed to end up either there or at Michigan's and frosted malts and burgers. But more importantly is the friendships that came through those Amherst years. From very early on, mostly through year-round sports activities, lifetime friendships developed. And 2 of your former inductees, prior inductees, Robert F. Coverdale General and Dale J. Bruce, are still lifetime friends. We went to Amherst, grew up in Amherst, went to Ohio Wesleyan, were in the same fraternity, and to this day we still reminisce about those wonderful times over 50 years ago in Amherst.
While you may not feel this now, I'm quite sure that down the road, and I can guarantee you that those years pass quickly, that you will have similar memories and appreciation for this first stage of your life. You young people have the world in front of you. Enjoy it, smile, dream, set goals, be the best that you can be in whatever you do each step of the way. And with patience, persistency, and determination, make your dreams become reality. I wish to offer my sincere thanks to the Student Council, faculty, and staff, to those of you who have attended this morning, and the community of Amherst for this wonderful day. Thank you.
Mr. John Lucio, class of 1951, is our fourth inductee today, inducted by Lindsay Wright.
John A. Lucio is truly a man to be admired. His motto, which he borrowed from his mentor and former teacher, Jack Wilhelm, is "Dickens' day, it's bound to pay," taught him persistence. It is this persistence that made him the man he is today. When John Lucio was 12 years old, his father unexpectedly passed away, leaving his mother to raise a large family alone. John, who was the second oldest, helped the family by having 2 paper routes. John credits his parents and the faculty of Amherst High School for instilling in him high moral standards. During this time in high school, John became acquainted with Miss Marion Steele, who was the principal of Amherst High School. To quote Mr. Lucio, Miss Steele was a strong, principled woman who liked students and everyone liked her. When John Lucio was working his way through college, he had the pleasure of helping build Marion Steele High School, the school named for his former principal. I would describe Mr. Lucio as overachieving, enthusiastic, hardworking, determined, and intense. Mr. Lucio has accomplished many goals and overcome many setbacks, including the deaths of 2 young sons. Mr. Lucio graduated in the class of 1951. He was musically talented in piano and in choir. He also played football, basketball, track, and gymnastics. Even though he weighed a mere 150 pounds, that didn't stop his love for sports. Mr. Lucio was a halfback for the football team. He always played 110% and never gave up. Mr. Lucio attended Bowling Green State University, where he played football and ran track for 4 years. At Bowling Green, he joined ROTC and served with the U.S. Army Artillery. In the Army, he played on the championship football and track teams in Tokyo, Japan. Since 1976, he has been an elementary physical education specialist in the Sherwood School District in Oregon. He has earned many honors. Since 1989, he has been assistant track coach at George Fox College. Also, he is the coach of shot put, discus, and javelin. Mr. Lucio has also coached NAIA All-Americans in the high jump, the hurdles, and the javelin, including a national championship in women's javelin in 1996 and 1997. 3 of his children followed in their father's footsteps and placed in the national championships in cross country and in track. 2 also joined ROTC and are commissioned officers in the U.S. military. Mr. and Mrs. Lucio have 7 children who are also accomplished persons. How wonderful it must be to be highly successful and in turn raise 7 independent and successful children. Mr. Lucio credits his mother and his wonderful wife, Margaret, as the women who were behind this good man. I would like to thank Mr. Jack Wilhelm, the mentor and father figure who always encouraged and advised Mr. Lucio for nominating him to Steele Gallery's Gallery of Success. John Lucio is a caring family man who has not only raised his own children very well, he has influenced countless numbers of other children he has taught and coached throughout the years. He is an active participant in health education and in life in general. I am very proud to represent John Lucio, and I am very proud that he is being inducted in the Marion Steele High School's Gallery of Success. I now have the honor of presenting to you Mr. John A. Lucio.
Good morning. I would like to recognize my mother, 92 years old, who is here today from Michigan with my two sisters, Betty and Rita. Would they please stand right there? When my dad passed away, my mother took in laundry. She took a wagon down to the town about a half mile from where we lived, pulled the groceries home, and did odd jobs. My older brother went into the Navy, sent me money when I was in college and when he could. And if it wasn't for Jack Wilhelm, my coach and mentor, and the influence of Gene Lyle and a few other outstanding teachers that you had at Amherst High School. Excuse me, I was a coach and teacher at Sherwood in Oregon there for a while. They gave me a terrific direction, and they believed in me, my parents, my family. And behind every successful person, you notice they all had something in common here. They had a good support group. And for you young people in high school, the best advice that I can give you, I'm going to throw out a few cliches here, but as a coach and as a teacher for 38 years, I've learned a few things that really are true. And they may sound cliche, maybe everything you ever learned, you learned in kindergarten, but it is important to wash your hands. It is important to be nice to others. It is important, remember what your mother said, eat your fruits and vegetables. Well, the research shows very clearly that that's one of the keys to a good, long, healthy life. So remember the advice your teachers and coaches give you because it's true. They've been there, they've done that. Again, Jack Wilhelm saw something in me, skinny little guy, 100 pounds. I really love the game of football and I love sports. And when my dad passed away, I thought my world was going to come to an end. He was one of the most honest men in Amherst, Ohio. Everybody said he was really an honest guy and really a hard-working man. And I've learned the value of hard work. And my kids will say to me, well, gosh, we're not perfect, you know. And I say, look, I ask you to clean the floor. I don't care what you do in life, but whatever you do, do it to the best of your ability. And when you're through with that job, if someone has to go back and do it over, then you did not do your job. Whether it's in sports or in academics, one of our inductees here were talking about the importance of listening and looking. And you know what I find as an elementary teacher, that's one of the most, PE teacher, that's one of the most important things that we can teach those kids. They have to learn to listen and look. Focus is a third part of that. Whatever you do, you have to focus totally on what you're doing and block out the distractions. And Ann that's trying to go out for a pass, Dale Bruce was such an inspiration to me. He made All-American. I remember that very clearly when I was struggling as a fifth string end down there on the football team, probably 105 pounds soaking wet. And the fact that he was so small, but he had such good skills. And his focus on that ball was what made him so successful. Jared Pretty was one of my heroes. Outstanding athlete. And I mean, a lot of people in Amherst influenced me, but again, it's the teachers and the coaches in your own family that did it. Stick and stay is bound to pay. Persistence really is omnipotent. It's one of the most important things that contribute to anyone's success. Attitude. A lot of kids have an attitude when they're growing up. And if you have a good attitude, you can solve just about any problem. It's whether the glass is half full or half empty. Again, I'm talking off the top of my head because I feel these things so strongly. It's, again, going back to Jack Wilhelm, he saw something in me. He was my father figure. He loaned me money when I went to college. I never had dreamed of going to college. I was halfway through my senior year. And I really wanted to go to Notre Dame. And I remember as a freshman, I said something about, I threw a jump pass, and I said, look, I'm Johnny Lujak. He was my idol. And I remember Coach Ludwig saying something to the effect, you wouldn't make a pimple on Lujak, blank, blank. And anyway, the name kind of stuck for a while, so I tried to live up to that. I remember things like, it's not the size of the dog, it's in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog. My dad used to say that because kids would beat up on me. I remember some bullies would do things to me that I wasn't real happy about. I remember Jack also saying, stick and stay is bound to pay. Persistence, young people here. Whatever you're doing, if you just hang in there and don't quit, it'll come back, it'll save you, it'll pull you out of a lot of tight places. When I was trying to get a master's degree, I thought, man, I'll never get through this. I wasn't the most brilliant kid in class, and I really had to work hard for everything I did. But I did get to about a B average. I could have studied a lot harder, I wish I had in high school. And I really struggled in college. And again, that attitude of not giving up, just hang in there, it's going to turn around, really makes a big difference in your life. We have friends here that have been inducted. My family, my brother's wife, my brother passed away, she's here, and her daughter Tina. I'd like them to stand to be recognized. Right there. And one of the most important people in my life, besides my immediate family that I grew up with, are my own children. And I have the great privilege, I hope they're here, gosh, I hope they're here. My daughter Veronica was an overachiever if I ever saw one. She holds a Marine Corps endurance course record. She holds a school record as a freshman at the high school where I coached her. And she went on to LaSalle High School because her class, people in her class thought I was playing favorites because she was my daughter. And she went on to do some really great things in her life. She made captain in the Marine Corps. Veronica and her husband Ken, who has one outstanding Marine himself, and was awarded a medal. Are you there, please? Is Veronica and Ken, my son, grandson, Cody here? I haven't seen him yet. I came in very late last night. They were going to be driving in this morning. Veronica and Ken, are you out there?
Veronica and Ken, where are they?
Oh boy. Well, I hope I see him before the day's over. And also, Bill Williver's here, I noticed, one of my teammates. And he was an outstanding athlete. My dad and his dad were real good friends growing up. And my dad got a dump truck dumped on him when he was growing up, working in a quarry. And he was crushed. He was in a cast from head to foot. And you know, the biggest impact that he made on me when he told me his story was about smoking. For you that like to smoke, he said, John, he said, you know, I wouldn't be alive today, and I wouldn't have met my mother. I met her in the hospital. She was a friend of Julie Williver. And he says, I wouldn't be here today, and you wouldn't be here today if I had been a smoker, because the doctor said I barely pulled through by the skin of my teeth. And that really made an impact on me. And so I tell you, young people, live your life well, enjoy it to the fullest, stay healthy, you can enjoy it a lot more. And the really most important thing, thank you for those who nominated me, and I really feel honored to be here, and God bless all of you. Thank you.
Our final inductee this morning is Mr. Bradley Hawes, class of 1972, inducted by Minnie Zally.
The Gallery of Success. The reason that all of our inductees are here is because they are successful. And I think that our next inductee, Mr. Brad Hawes, could define the word. I don't really have any good stories about the first time I met Mr. Hawes. As a matter of fact, I can't even remember the first time I met him because he's been my mother's boss for the past 12 years. So I guess I better make this speech good. Mr. Hawes graduated from Marion, Steele in 1972. He pursued his education at Bowling Green State University and earned a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration with 3 majors: Business Management, Accounting, and Economics. Mr. Hawes is a 20-year employee of the Nordson Corporation. During that time, he has had several positions. Right now, he is a sales manager of the domestic powder distributors. At one time, he served as the president of the Nordson Management and Professionals Club. Mr. Hawes believes of giving of himself to make the community a better place. Mr. Hawes was once the county co-chair of a successful levy committee to improve parks in Lorraine County. He is currently active in the Red Cross and served recently as chairman of the board. He is on the Nordson Corporation Lorraine County Affairs Committee. That committee contributes money to Lorraine County activities. He is and has been for the last 10 years a representative for the United Way. Having 3 children of his own, Mr. Hawes knows the importance of a good education. He feels that his time is well spent whenever helping the education pursuit of the next generation. His educational involvement started with the Elyria Schools for Quality Education Committee, in which he served as chairperson for the 1995 and 96 levies, the Business Advisory Council that promotes business with education in Elyria schools, and as an Envision Elyria board member, he sets hopes and dreams for Elyria's future. He is also in the Partners in Education. Mr. Hawes is active in his church, serving as cabinet and chairperson of the board of trustees. Mr. Hawes not only helps in lives, but he also saves them. No, Mr. Hawes is not a firefighter on the side, but he is a bone marrow donor. Like I said in the beginning, we're here to recognize success. But as you see, it's not just Mr. Hawes' success, it's a success that he gives the future. Mr. Hawes may benefit greatly from helping a community, but a community definitely benefits from the help of Mr. Hawes. It is now my honor to induct Mr. Bradley Hawes into our Distinguished Alumni Gallery of Success.
Thank you, Mindy. And I also thank the school and the student council for this honor. Last week, some business associates and I were driving to a convention in Charlotte, North Carolina. To help pass the time, we listened to some motivational and educational tapes. One of the tapes made a reference to success and how to be successful. At this point, one of the people in the car said, "My definition of success may not agree with your definition of success." This evoked a discussion about success and its definition. I have decided to use this discussion as the basis of my message today. As we were driving down Interstate 77, carefully and within the speed limit, of course, we whipped out the laptop computer and looked up the definition of success. The definition, according to Webster, is the achievement of something desired, planned, or attempted. Our discussion identified numerous personal goals. These ranged from a cottage on the lake to red Ferraris. We then got serious, and we spoke of the truly more important elements of success, such as peace of mind, having a sense of tranquility, having a high level of health and energy, loving relationships, financial freedom, having enough money so you don't have to worry about having enough money, and personal fulfillment. We also agreed a sense of balance in one's life is important. A balance of work and business, family, sports and World Series Indians games, community involvement, and religion or belief in a higher authority, a higher being. As upperclassmen in high school, you need to start defining your success. You must make a decision to become successful. You do this by defining your goals and then developing a plan to attain these goals. By failing to plan, you are planning to fail. Your self-expectation should be high. My parents taught me you must make a decision to become successful, as success begins within oneself. Henry Ford said, "If you believe you can do a thing, or if you believe you cannot, you are right." You need to define your own success. Plan your life just as a ship's captain pilots its course. You need to believe yourself to be capable of great success. Plan it and then do it. I wish you all success. And after getting to know Mindy Zally, I know the class of '98 will have its own number in the Gallery of Success. Thank you.
As we look into the mirror, we see our own reflection. Our reflection in the present. But today, this very stage has been a unique mirror that has allowed us not to see our reflection in the present, but to see it in the future. As we've rewarded these inductees, we've noticed that they've all had the same foundation, same beginnings. We've noticed that we can take their stories, learn, and then project our image upon this stage, the way we'd like to appear several years from now. And this message is the same for the adults in the audience as well. Notice where you are in life. Define what success means to you. See your reflection of the future and strive towards greatness. Thank you for attending the 12th Annual Distinguished Alumni Gallery of Success. The inductees are invited back to a luncheon at the high school, their family members, and also the student council members. After the choral benediction, the adults are asked to remain seated, that the students may proceed to the buses. Thank you again, and remember to look at reflection of the future.
Thank you.